Good morning, members. We have a quorum. It's also the appointed time to convene the meeting of Special Finance Committee. We have 2 sessions in the morning. It will run up to 12:55 p.m. The Special Finance Committee sessions are to scrutinize the estimates from 2026 to 2027 to make sure the funding allocated will not exceed that strictly needed. When members ask questions, please refer to the reply number in the upper right corner, say TLB 001. If members can't follow up on the written replies today, you may ask supplementary questions in written form and submit them to the Secretariat before 7 p.m. tonight. But the supplementary questions can only be on the written replies provided by the administration. We have this session being on transport and logistics. Welcome, Ms. Mabel Chen, the Secretary, and her team. I will now ask the Secretary to give a brief presentation, and then I'll open the floor to members for questions. Secretary, when you're ready. Good morning, Chair, members. This is the Special Finance Committee session on transports and logistics. I will give a brief opening speech. This is the first year of the National 15 Five-Year Plan. The outline of the plan released last month mentions Hong Kong's role as an international maritime center and an international aviation hub. The dedicated chapter on Hong Kong and Macau supports Hong Kong in consolidating and enhancing its status in international shipping and as an international aviation hub. It also explicitly supports Hong Kong in consolidating and enhancing its competitive edge and better integrating into the development of the country. The Bureau will continue to proactively align with national development strategies and actively work with industries and various stakeholders such as electrical members to fulfill Hong Kong's roles as a super connector and super value adder. Yesterday, Mr. Xia Baolong, Director of the Hong Kong and Macau Affairs Office of the State Council, mentioned that Hong Kong is a safe port and that a safe port is a port of development in his speech at the opening ceremony of the National Security Education Day. To expedite the development of Hong Kong as an international maritime center, enhance high-end maritime services, and ensure the safety of Hong Kong's advancement from stability to prosperity, we need the concerted efforts of society. Transport infrastructure is an important engine for social and economic development. This year's budget has proposed a series of measures to promote the development of Hong Kong's international aviation hub, international maritime center, and cross-boundary transport infrastructure. On the aviation front, I'm very happy to announce to members today the Hong Kong International Airport has been ranked as the world's busiest cargo airport in 2025, again with an annual cargo throughput of 5.07 million tons, which is the 15th time since 2010 that the airport has topped the ranking of the world's busiest cargo airports. In the current international political and economic climate, in the face of fierce competition in the region and uncertainties in the global economy, Hong Kong's success is not easy to achieve. With the commissioning of the 3-runway system at the Hong Kong International Airport and the opening of the departure facilities at Terminal 2 at the end of next month, we will continue to participate actively in international civil aviation conferences and make proactive visits to our aviation partners to expand our aviation footprint. Our target is to explore with 10 or more aviation partners within this year the possibility of strengthening civil aviation links, including discussions on the signing of new civil aviation agreements or the expansion of air services to support the high-quality development of the Hong Kong International Airport's route network. To strengthen Hong Kong's position as an international aviation hub, we will continue to support the Airport Authority in actively attracting investment and promoting development of various projects. for the expansion of Airport City, including the expansion of the terminal network in mainland cities. We are also pressing ahead with the construction of Dongguan Logistics Park, with the target of commissioning the permanent facilities of the first phase of the park in the first half of 2027 to improve the intermodal transportation network in the GBA and reduce the operating costs of industries. In respect of logistics and shipping, the budget proposes to link up shipping and finance. Hong Kong will further tie in with the development of the National Maritime Strategy, enhance its status as an international maritime center, and leverage on financial empowerment to fully develop Hong Kong into a global shipping capital to attract more maritime enterprises to set up their operations in Hong Kong. On trade finance, the Hong Kong Monetary Authority's Project Cargo X is linked with the PCS Port Community System and Hong Kong International Airport's cargo data platform HKIA Cargo. And so far, more than 4,000 companies have registered to use the PCS. A successful linkage between industry and finance can create synergy and propel Hong Kong to become a leading global trade finance center and supply chain hub. To enhance Hong Kong's competitiveness, we are planning to amend the Import and Export Ordinance to extend the current permit exemption arrangements for air transshipment cargo to cover sea, air, sea, and sea transshipment cargo. The target is to introduce the amendment bill into the LegCo within this year. In addition, we are building a rail, sea, land, river intermodal transport system to enhance intermodal transport, extend the cargo hinterland for cargoes, and attract local cargoes to be exported overseas via Hong Kong. We will focus on identifying solid growth areas by use of rail, sea, intermodal transport to enable cargoes from Chongqing and Chengdu to be transported to Yantian Port in Shenzhen, or Northwest Guangdong from transshipment to Kuaiting Port, in order to seize the markets in Central and South American markets. Hong Kong has a well-developed maritime services industry with over 1,200 related enterprises in 2025 providing high-end services. To further promote the development of high-value-added maritime services, we will introduce an amendment bill into the LegCo in the first half of this year to enhance the existing tax concessionary arrangements for shipping-related activities, and provide half-rate tax concessions for trading of commodities to boost the demand for shipping and professional maritime services in Hong Kong. To consolidate Hong Kong's leading position in ship registration, we will reform the existing ship registration arrangements by introducing a dual registration arrangement to cater for the diversified modes of operation of international shipping enterprises to provide greater flexibility for ship owners and operators. The target is to introduce an amendment bill into the Council in the second half of this year. We are also trying to boost the use of green fuel. We will launch a green vessels registration incentive scheme to attract ships using green fuel to register in Hong Kong to promote the green transformation of Hong Kong's registered fleet. With the development of Hong Kong into an international smart logistics hub, the government will launch the Future Innovative Logistics Acceleration Scheme within this year to enhance digitalization of the industry and assist the industry in using the logistics data platforms operated by the government or public organizations with a target number of 300 enterprises to be benefited. We will invite the industry to submit expressions of interest for the first site of the Hung Shui Kiu Modern Logistics Circle this year. On transport infrastructure, under the new infrastructure layout of 8 vertical and 8 horizontal, we will give full play to the dual innovation mindset of policy innovation and technological innovation and press ahead with various projects. On railways, the Kutong Station, Tongchong Line Extension, Tuen Mun South Extension, and Hung Shui Kiu Station will be completed and commissioned from next year onwards. Northern Link Mainline and Spur Line projects will be taken forward in tandem with a new mindset to commission them at the same time by 2034. We are also pressing ahead with the investigation and design of the Hong Kong-Shenzhen Western Rail Link Hung Shui Kiu to Shanghai at full speed to invite tenders for Hong Kong section of the project next year. This is the target. As for the smart and green mass transit system projects, we have invited tender bids for the Kai-Tak project in October 2025 and expect to award the contract within this year. We also plan to conduct tendering for 2 projects in East Kowloon and the Hongshui-Kyohachi New Development Area this year. On the other hand, the MTR Corporation has commenced the detailed planning and design of South Island Line West. Lastly, the Bureau will accelerate the development of transportation with innovation and technology in 3 areas. A. Promoting unmanned and large-scale development of autonomous vehicles. The Transport Department has approved the testing of more than 60 autonomous vehicles in different parts of the city, thereby driving developments into the technology. Last month, the Commissioner for Transport convened the first meeting of the Autonomous Vehicle Applications Promotion Working Group to expedite the testing and application of autonomous vehicles in Hong Kong, together with other departments and industry stakeholders, and formulate a roadmap for commercial operations. B. Making good use of AI to promote smart mobility. The Transport Department is actively making use of big data and AI to build an intelligent traffic management platform and plans to make preparations for the launch of the first pilot zone in Aberdeen this year so that citizens can know in real time traffic information and make plans. They can also act in response of some unanticipated incidents or adverse weather conditions. C. Building an internationally competitive low-altitude economy system will soon roll out an advanced version of the regulatory Sandbox X pilot project on low-altitude economy, focusing on more complex application scenarios, including cross-boundary logistics and manned aerial vehicles, multi-setting, multi-user sharing platforms, and drone traffic management systems. We will also draft an action plan on developing low-altitude economy, the contents of which will cover legislative amendments, promulgation of standards, and infrastructure planning to lay the foundation for the long-term standardized development of the low-altitude economy. Chair, my team and I are more than happy to answer questions from members. Thank you, Chair. We have in total 19 members who have pressed the request to speak button. I will assign a 4-minute time limit, questions and answers included. I will read out the first-time members who are going to speak. Dr. Johnny Mr. Chen Yung, Mr. Chao Siu Hong, Mr. Dominic Lim, Captain Luther Lam, Mr. Chris Ip, Mr. Chan Hock Fong, Mr. Yang Wen Kip, Mr. Chen Pu Lam, Mr. Andrew Lam, Dr. Johnny I want to follow up on B116 and B201. On B116, on the reimbursement scheme for maritime training courses and examination fees, we want to support in-service personnel to undertake further training and take the licensing application. I can see the form provided by the administration. I want to ask specifically about a figure between 2023 and 2024 for item A about the number of people applying and got the reimbursement. In 2021, 2022, 2024, 2025, the success rate is 70 odd to 80 odd %. But for 2023, 2024, the figure is quite interesting. There were only 1,014 people applying. There were success cases amounting to 1,022, so there were more than the number of applications. How did we have this figure? Now on B201, TLB 201, we have cyclists. It is a must for them to wear helmets on roads. Will that increase the workload of police in enforcement? Have we had measures in specific black spots such as Shek-O Road or Shuttlecock Highway to have technological assistance in enforcement? Thank you. Secretary, Dr. Johnny Thank you for the 2 questions. Under the Maritime and Aviation Training Fund, the specific scheme, the simple answer is in the same year, we have the number of participants or the amount to be reimbursed. It may not tie in with the number of applications this year. The amount reimbursed may be for an application from the year before. We may need to take some follow-up action that causes the time gap. So it may not necessarily tie in with the specific figures of applications. As for enforcement against cyclists, it is just like what we have for other traffic safety measures. The police work closely with the transport department. We also make good use of publicity and education. Of course, also in enforcement to ensure road safety. In roads that have a higher speed or more bends, we have some cameras set up to facilitate enforcement by the police or detect road incidents. In enforcement, with measures such as drones or multifunctional cameras, if they can help with smart enforcement or efficient enforcement, we will explore those with the police. Thank you.
Next, Mr. Chen Yong. Thank you, Chairman, and thank you, Secretary and the Directors. My question is on TLB 071 asked by Mr. Ben Chen from my party. So the blueprints for transport strategy mentioned for the first time the southern expansion of the Hong Kong-Shenzhen Railway. As mentioned by the Secretary before, there would be a detailed study on the project. So it involves quite a large amount of funding. So what's the progress of the planning? Now, according to reports, Guangzhou would like to have the railway extended to Nansha. That's a massive project, and the infrastructure will cost a huge amount of money. So if we can connect the airport hubs at the three places with the railway, that would be great. But in terms of the funding, as well as the mid to long-term funding prospects, I would like to know more on the progress. Secretary, thank you, Mr. Brave Chan, for your question. I think we would all agree that transport infrastructure would bring in more people and vehicles. And for key transport infrastructure, including high-speed rail station and airports, these are crucial infrastructure. And they can deepen the integration between the Hong Kong SAR and the Greater Bay Area as a whole. Now, the 15th Five-Year Plan mentioned that the Greater Bay Area must enhance its cooperation and create a greater airport hub. So we will conduct studies on how to better connect airports with the urban areas, including the northern metropolis, as well as connection with other mode of transport. On that premises, we consider how we can enhance the connection between the airports and the railway network so that we can achieve intermodal transport in Guangzhou and Shenzhen and our airports. Now for the Hongshi-Q to Qianhai section of the Hong Kong-Shenzhen Western Rail Link, we are conducting a study. And we will reserve flexibility to accommodate the northern extension on the Shenzhen side, and on the Hong Kong side, within this year, internally, we will kickstart a study to reserve capacity for the southern expansion of the Hong Kong-Shenzhen Rail Link. We will start the study soon. Since we have promulgated the blueprints for transport strategy, we have received a lot of positive feedback and suggestions as well. So we will conduct a detailed study to connect the rail to the Lantau Island as well as other parts of Hong Kong. When we have the statistics and feasible options, we will report to the Council. Mr. Chen Xu-Hong, thank you, Chairman. My question is on TLB 026. That's my own question. On the Northern Metropolis Railways office establishments and on-staff cost. Now, last year, the regular post has increased from 16 to 26, with a 60% increase in cost. Now, for time-limited posts, the number has increased from 18 to 22. I know there are more projects, so we need more manpower in the office. However, in the year 2026 to 7 and 27 to 8, the government has a target to achieve 2% reduction in the civil service establishments. However, there are an additional 10 odd professional staff in the office. So will these be newly recruited staff or will they be redeployed internally? Now, second, about the railway projects approval office under the Railways Office. Now, the Railways Office is responsible for taking forward the relevant railway projects in the northern metropolis, including the Kutong North Station and also the Hong Kong-Shenzhen Rail Link Hongshui-Q to Shanghai section. Now, previously, the government has mentioned that the railway projects approval office would be established for approving projects, including the Northern Link, Hong Kong-Shenzhen Rail Link Hongshui-Q to Shanghai, and also the new green mass transit project. So the Northern Metropolis Railways Office and the Railway Projects Approval Office, how do they separate their remits? Because I'm worried about overlapping of work scope and even conflicts. Secretary, thank you for your two questions. On the second part of your question, I will first give some explanation. Mr. Chen mentioned the newly announced railway standard by the Highways Department. That's the best standard announced by the country with reference to the international standard. Now, together with that announcement, under the Highways Department, we have established the Railway Approval Units. Together with other departments, including the Buildings Department and FSD, the approval process would be coordinated by the Railway Approval Unit so as to enhance efficiency, as well as streamlining the approval procedures. Now, through this practice, we will achieve two KPIs. For newly submitted applications, the target is to reduce the approval time by 30%. For repeated applications, depending on the complexity, we will also achieve some reduction in time. Now, despite the establishment of this unit under the Highways Department and also the Northern Metropolis Railways Office, they are the facilitators, which will facilitate project owners to take forward their projects. So the railway approval units have different work scope with the two facilitators. There will be a firewall between them. They will be headed by a different deputy director so as to achieve check and balance. On the first part of your question, very briefly, over the past 2 years, we have been taking forward or preparing for a number of important heavy rail projects. So through internal redeployment, we have increased the number of professional staff members under the Northern Metropolis Railways Office to enhance the speed. Mr. Dominic Lee, thank you. My question is on TLB 038, my own question, on the progress of the construction of the Pak Shek Kok MTR station. Now, I was hoping that the government would provide me with a concrete timetable and the cost breakdown, but it seems that none of my questions have been answered. You just said that the preparation work is in its final stage. The Pak Shek Kok MTR station has been in planning for 5 years. So what does it it mean by it is in its final leg? Is it going to be gazetted soon? Are contracts going to be signed soon? Or do you just mean that internal approval has been given? Will this be completed in 2026 or will there be no finish line in sight? And also, I would like to be given an estimate of the cost. Will the government make public the estimated cost? Now, the comprehensive project includes the redevelopment of the sports center of the university. Now, has the plan been agreed upon by the Education University? And how many flags will be yielded? Will the revenue be able to cover the cost of building the Paxacock station? Secretary. Thank you, Mr. Lee. I think the chairman is also concerned about this issue because you have also asked question on the Paxacock station. First of all, this is a comprehensive composite project, including residential development. Now, I know that the Development Bureau have dedicated staff to coordinate the project. The TLB, the Highways Departments, and the MTRC are supporting the project. In particular, the design and preparation of construction for the Paxacock station. According to my understanding, the internal discussion is ongoing between the governments and the MTRC, and very soon we will be able to announce the details. We hope that later on this year there will be good news to share. So please keep looking forward to our announcement. We will be working closely with the Development Bureau. Nonetheless, our goal is to follow the timetable, that is to commission the new station before 2033. Concerning the redevelopment of the sports center of the Education University, I understand that a consent has been reached, and the sports center will be redeveloped, and the original site will be released for development. Concerning the actual number of flags yield and supporting facilities, the TLB does not have the figures. Please direct the question to the Development Bureau. Captain Luther Lam. 2 questions. First, question 117, my own question. On the progress of Route 11, it mentions that the survey work has been largely completed last year. This year, some $44 million will be dedicated to site investigations and preliminary design. Now, the Chenglong Bridge and the major section of the highway, their preliminary design will be kick-started this year. So the $44 million, will it be spent on the design of the Chenglong Bridge or the design of other road sections? Now, in 2023, the government said that the bridge will be commissioned by 2033. So what is the status of the work now? Second question, question 115, also my own question, concerning the supplementary labor scheme for the aviation industry. Now, the aviation industry has said that it has alleviated the manpower demand. However, for many frontline jobs, there are very few local people entering the occupation. So there is still a shortage of manpower. Now, the government said that it would make reference to the latest manpower survey conducted by the Airport Authority to decide expanding the quota. So when will the review be completed? When reviewing the plan, will the government also review the ratio of 2-to-1 importation ratio? Is there room for relaxing the ratio? More importantly, we need to enhance the supply of local aviation manpower. So how can the government attract more young people to enter the logistics, transport, and aviation trade? Secretary. Thank you, Mr. Lam. Concerning Route 11, under the 8 vertical and 8 horizontal blueprints, the Route 11 is a very important project. It will connect the urban area and the northern metropolis and will also alleviate expected traffic congestion while creating more capacity. However, taking forward a new major route with such a length, spanning across different areas, will involve huge financial commitments. That's why we will not wait until all the funding is in place before we take forward the project. At present, we are already putting together an experts team to identify the crucial parts of Route 11, and it is found that the Qinglong Bridge is the most crucial part, so we will focus all our resources on the site investigation work of the Qinglong Bridge first. The work has been completed. According to the investigation results, we have enhanced the design of the Qinglong Bridge. In year 2026 to 7, we will dedicate more resources to enhance the design of Qinglong Bridge with the targets to commission the bridge by 2033. In terms of aviation industry, after the completion of the third of the free runway system, the capacity has been greatly enhanced. The number 2 terminal will be commissioned in the second half of the year as well. So we need more manpower to cope with the expansion. Indeed, the labor importation scheme for the transport sector aviation industry has alleviated some manpower shortage. But Captain Lufair Lam is right, we need to actively train up and retain local talents. So we have the Hong Kong Aviation Academy. So far, there are a dozen training programs through which tens of thousands of talents have been trained up. And also through the labor importation scheme and local training, we will supply more support staff, including security staff and so on. And also through automation and technology, we will handle the added workload.
Mr. Chris Ip, I want to follow up on 216, my question on taxi fleet. I can see the information. We have approximately 1,300 taxis at the end of last year. Now we have 1,500 fleet taxis. The target was 3,500, so there is a huge gap. And as I asked in my question, how many fleet taxis are actually actively trying to take in passengers on streets? At night, I would see fleet taxis parked there. They are not in service. So I think the problem is we have an outdated hailing model. So when we also don't have enough operators, drivers, and vehicles. So will we review the effectiveness of taxi fleet arrangements? Will we have a deadline of some sort? Will we have performance indicators? At the end of this year, we will have the ride-hailing platforms becoming official. Will we include the taxi fleets under the ride-hailing regulatory framework to basically resolve the issue? Thank you. Secretary, thank you, Mr. Ip, for your question. To introduce the flexi fleet regime, the aim of which is to enhance quality in the traditional taxi trade. Every day, every month, we look at the services of taxi fleets closely. We want them to achieve the scale we propose, and we'll provide support to them with software, the ride-hailing software, or the drivers, all the hardware, say vehicles, technology, we do see an enhancement of quality. And recently, we will have electronic payment methods. For example, the Octopus company is going to launch a consolidated platform soon. I believe it's on 28th or 29th of April. They have coordinated with taxi fleets, and in future, one can request a vehicle through this consolidated platform. And I agree with what Mr. Ip said. At the end of March, we should have 3,500, over 1,500 fleet taxis. All of them are in service. However, making requests for the vehicles, the app is very important. We want to provide convenience to citizens so that they don't have to flag the vehicles on streets. They can request such vehicles online. And we have talked to drivers. They believe this diversity in service options can benefit them. We want to, of course, achieve the target as soon as possible. We want taxi fleets to achieve the scale proposed so that citizens can experience the quality fleet services. Mr. Chen Hock Feng, thank you, Chair. I want to follow up on 028 about road conditions. We can see from the figures we have more complaints concentrating in several areas. The department said they would look at the specific conditions. If the condition is really bad, they will pave the whole road. I want to ask the specific department, what criteria will you adopt? Is it because we have a high number of complaints, or what figures you would need to have to repave the specific roads? In fact, every day we see a lot of roads are in poor condition. And also, will you take into account, for example, the accident figures? When there's a serious accident, you will repave the road. I also want to ask about 002. We are trying to become an international aviation center, and the airport authority said they want to accommodate 70 million and above visitors this year. We have also more cargo throughput, but then there's also nuisance associated with nighttime noise. It has caused a nuisance for residents in Tongchong. Most of the nighttime cargo flights make use of south runway, and it is very close to the new reclamation area of Tongchong. Are there any measures to minimize more noise? I understand right now the noise can be generated up to 2 in the morning. How can we lessen the nuisance for residents? Secretary, 2 questions. I'll answer the second question, and the first question I'll ask Mr. Yao to answer the relevant questions. After commissioning of 3 runway system, we have indeed seen an increasing number of flights. We have more frequent flights as well. As a result, in our design, we already took into account with the increased number of flights, it can cause a different impact in terms of noise for stakeholders. We have, through the Civil Aviation Department, explained to different stakeholders such as councils and resident organizations to explain the arrangements. With the increased number of flights, there is still going to be a level of noise impact. We have 3 runways, however. We will see with seasonal and wind direction changes, the Civil Aviation Department will flexibly make changes to account for various considerations. Cargo flights are heavier than passenger flights, and their components may be more aged compared to passenger planes, which is probably the reason why they're generating more noise. We can perhaps make some changes with which runway they are going to use. You probably don't know this, but the Civil Aviation Department has been discussing with stakeholders with the landing of flights. They will encourage airlines to make use of more advanced technology in landing or planes and will accord them with priorities so as to encourage airlines to make use of the more advanced flights. Well, we have ample time for this session. Perhaps I'll ask Mr. Yao to answer the question on road maintenance. Thank you. We will conduct inspections for highways and every week, and we will inspect other roads every month. We have some rectification maintenance to ensure safety. As said in the controlling officer's report, we said in the previous year, the pothole problems will be resolved within 24 hours. We also have planned maintenance such as the repaving of roads, but then we would have to account for circumstances such as the traffic condition in the area because we will need some diversion arrangements. Thank you. Mr. Yang Wen-kit, thank you, Chair. I want to ask about 044 and 265. On Universal Accessibility Program, it is very good. We will soon see the end of the program. Will we consider extending the program to promote accessibility? I also want to ask about the financial aspect. We have some lift projects being terminated before they are completed, and you said you would have 1 to 2.5% of the funds deducted as deposit. Will you review the financial condition to restrict certain companies from submitting bids? We have some companies that keep on submitting bids without regard to their financial condition. Will you conduct further reviews of the financial condition of companies to make sure the projects can be completed? Next, on 265, about parking spaces for coaches. And the residents of the district I serve have reflected that there is serious insufficiency of parking spaces. For example, in Kowloon City, there are only 92 private parking spaces and a single digit of parking spaces of the government. We have non-franchise buses amounting to 6,000 in Hong Kong. With the parking spaces, we have 3,296 in both the public and private sectors. There is a serious gap. How can the government deal with the parking spaces issue? Will we have more facilities in future to increase the number of parking spaces to meet the demand? I will answer the second question. I will ask Mr. Yao to answer the first question, the director. We attach great importance to the issue of parking spaces for commercial vehicles. We can see that being reflected in the figures that there is a gap. For commercial vehicles, a few years ago, the ratio is 1 to 0.64. In the past few years, we have worked hard to increase it slightly to 0.1 to 0.67, but that still cannot catch up with the demand, which is why in the transport strategy blueprint we propose that we need to conduct a study on the demand and supply of parking spaces for commercial vehicles. We have commenced the study. We hope to have it completed within next year. We will then make some recommendations. We will adopt a multi-pronged approach in the meantime. We're not just leaving it be. As Mr. Yang said, we have, say, for school buses, we will work with the Education Bureau and schools to have schools open up their premises during night time so that school buses can park in the premises. And from the figures, we can see right now there are 42 schools in Hong Kong providing 100-odd spaces for school buses. And we have other commercial vehicles such as coaches. We have discussed with the Housing Bureau and the Housing Department to have in housing estates in the nighttime to have drop-off loading bays as parking spaces. Mr. Yao, please provide a simple response.
So among the 382 projects, there are only 105 remaining to be built under the Universal Accessibility Program. For the next batch, as mentioned by Mr. Gison Yang, we will conduct a survey study for the remaining 100 projects. We will look at the underground utility layout to prevent the situation that underground utilities are discovered after the project has started. And also we are engaging small to medium scale contractors. Now, there are 9 contracts and 5 have been completed last year and there are 4 remaining to be completed this year. So we continue to use the 2-envelope mechanism. So we consider the bid price as well as the past performance and the quality of the projects. So ordinarily speaking, we can see that the quality of the tenders are quite good. Mr. Mr. Chen Pui Leung, thank you. My own question, 79, about the number of license of online hail vehicle. So last year, the legislature passed the Road Traffic Amendments Route Hailing Service Bill, and this, starting from this year, licenses will be issued for online ride-hailing vehicles. Now, making reference to other cities' experience, the number of online hail cars is much larger than taxis. So for Shenzhen, Shanghai, the ratio is 1 to 2, 1 to 3. For Australia, it's 1 to 12. So in terms of the number of online hail car license issued, will the government make reference to other places? Will the number be larger than the number of taxi licenses, that is 18,000 at present? So in deciding the number of licenses to be issued, what factors will be considered and what are the standards? How can we ensure that the level can guarantee good traveling experience while satisfying passengers' demand? Secretary, thank you, Mr. Chen. The regulatory framework, its intent is to protect the safety of passengers as well as providing more diverse options to passengers. Using online hail cars to provide point-to-point personalized transport is the trend in the world. In Hong Kong, more people are using online hail car platforms to hail a ride. Now, according to figures, the number of visitors using online hail car service in Hong Kong has been on the rise, and very often visitors would be using this service in the original country. So when they come to Hong Kong, if they can't use this service, it would hurt our reputation as an international metropolis. Now, Mr. Chen mentioned about the number of licenses to be issued for online hail vehicles. So, of course, we have made reference to other cities' experience. But Hong Kong is unique because 90% of our population use public transport to commute on a daily basis. There's a very robust public transport ecosystem, and we need to consider the carrying capacity of our road network as well. So we will adopt the approach of controlling the total number of licenses issued. We will balance a number of factors when considering approval of licenses, including the hailing and riding experience of passengers. We are including both the drivers and the platforms and the cars into the regulatory framework so as to ensure that the experience is great. On the other hand, we will be ensuring that passengers will not have to wait for a long time before they get a car. So we will look at the statistics as well as listening to stakeholders' views. The taxi industry is also an important stakeholder. We will discuss the matter with them closely, and we will ensure that the two industries are complementing each other and thriving together so as to provide diverse transport services to the population. Mr. Andrew Lam, thank you. I have two questions. The first one is TLB 120, my own question, and also Mr. Charles Siu Chung, TLB 009. This is about the registration and training mechanism for vehicle maintenance workers. And the second question is about smart traffic lights. On the first question, the number of EVs has been on the rise, and that's inevitable. Now, according to 009, in year 2022, 2024 to 5, the number of maintenance workers for EVs registered has seen a mild increase. However, for new registration and renewal, there is an overall decrease. It means that for all type of workers, there is a decrease. Is it because the market is already saturated? Now, it seems that the government is on the path to implement a mandatory registration scheme, and I support that. But I'm concerned whether there will be sufficient vehicle mechanics. And during the transitional period, are there any safeguards to ensure the quality of their work? And second question, the installation of smart traffic lights. Now, in 2026 to 7, there will still be a number of traffic lights to be installed in Kowloon. That's smart public lighting. So by 2027, will the project be completed for Hong Kong Island and Kowloon, and all that remains is those in new territories? Mr. Tony Yao or Mr. Poon, the director of the EMS. Thank you. Concerning the EV vehicle mechanics. Now, we have a voluntary registration scheme for vehicle mechanics. So the reduction in the number of new registration and renewal is a cyclical issue because renewal is required several years for every several years. So 2 years ago, there was a huge wave of renewal. In terms of attracting new registration, we are stepping up on publicity to attract more young people to enter the trade. Now, about the mandatory registration scheme for vehicle maintenance workshop. We already have a voluntary registration scheme for vehicle mechanics and vehicle maintenance workshops. So if we pursue the path of mandating the registration, we will transition it from the existing voluntary scheme. Now, there are more and more EVs, so before the mandatory registration scheme is implemented, how can we ensure the quality of the maintenance work? Under the voluntary registration scheme, we have added registration for vehicle mechanics and vehicle maintenance workshops. And also, the advisory group on vehicle maintenance is in close communication with the trade. There are some 1,300 vehicle mechanics who have received the relevant training courses. And also, we have launched a guideline for EV maintenance to impose a standard on the trade. Mr. Yao, please be brief. Thank you. The smart public lighting network system for the Hong Kong Island Party has been completed last year. The remaining estimates is for Kowloon and the New Territories. Mr. Chow Siu Chung, thank you, Chairman. I'm following up on my own question. That's TLB 193 on the parking space for commercial vehicles and motorcycles. So according to the Secretary, the government has been making a lot of efforts to increase the number of parking spaces for commercial vehicles. I think it is improving, but it's still very bad. There are only 2 parking spaces for 3 commercial vehicles, so we need to address the problem. Now today I would like to ask a question on the parking space available for motorcycles. According to many food courier, there is a serious shortage of motorcycle parking spaces in all districts. They will be given a ticket if they go to toilets and park the car on the roadside. Now, for 15 districts, the usage rate for motorcycle parking space is 100%, and for 2 districts, it is 90%. So does the government have a plan to increase the number of parking spaces for motorcycles? And will the government consider separating the parking spaces for motorcycles for private and commercial users? Now in the mainland, there are some cities which distinguish the two by using cameras and other technologies. So can we offer a targeted solution for the lack of parking spaces for commercial motorcycles? Another question, 192, that's my own question. Public transport fare concession scheme. Now, according to the government, there is a 20% reduction in the estimates for year 2026 to 7. The government said that there are fewer passengers. However, for the next year, the estimate has increased by some 30%. Then the government gave us the same answer, that there are more passengers expected. So why is that there is a reduction in the revised estimates for last year and an increase in the estimates for next year? What are the basis for your estimation? Secretary, thank you, Mr. Chow, for your 2 questions. First of all, motorcycle parking spaces. In the study for parking spaces for commercial vehicles, we have also conducted a study on the parking space available for commercial motorcycles. Now, a few years ago, the Highways Department adopted an innovative solution, that is supplying more parking spaces for motorcycle under highways. So I urge all parties to come up with innovative solutions to make the best use of our limited spaces. Now, motorcycles are more agile. It is more convenient for motorcycles to enter hard-to-reach parking spaces, for example, under the highways, compared with other vehicles. So whether we can make a distinction between motorcycles for private and commercial use, I will leave it to my team to conduct a study. Concerning the public transport fare concession scheme, the expenditure for subsidy in 2025 and 6 it was lesser than we have expected. Indeed, the number of passengers has been lower than expected, in particular during nighttime and over the weekend. So we have incorporated this assumption in next year's estimation. And also we have taken into account the fare adjustments of public transport operators. So please be reassured that the estimate is based on the actual number of patronage. The actual amount of expenditure on subsidy will be reflected in our report.
We have gone much past the time limit. Can you follow up on the next question through other channels? Mr. Dennis Leung, thank you. I want to follow up my question 137. I would first like to declare I am a CPPCC representative for Zhuhai for the Hong Kong-Shenzhen Western Rail Link Shanghai to Hongshui-Q. I understand that the Shenzhen-Zhuhai tunnel would include 3 railway lines, and they will construct them at the same time they can commission the infrastructure in 2027. Now, with the Hong Kong-Shenzhen Western Rail Link, we have members suggesting whether the Hongshui-Q station should be extended to the Hong Kong International Airport. We have this specific working group between mainland and Hong Kong on railway infrastructure. Have they plans to look at perhaps making this extension? Do we have plans to reserve funding to enhance this project or expedite the construction of this project? The target is to have it completed in 2035, but it's 8 years from now. We want to enhance transport efficiency. What is the government's plan in this regard? Secretary, thank you, Mr. Leung, for your question. I actually answered this when Mr. Chan Yong asked about this. The Hong Kong-Shenzhen Western Rail Link, Hongshui-Q to Shanghai, is an important initiative, and the National 15 5-year plan specifically mentioned how we need to prepare for it. It will be an important part of the city's 5-year plan. We will make sure to work hard on this, and the specific working group is doing investigation and design work. As for whether we will extend from Hongshui-Q to have air rail intermodal transport, we have different alignment options actually. We need to compare the costs as well as benefits to make a decision. Right now, we are doing some internal studies to get some preliminary data with the lead of the Transport Department, the Highways Department, and the Airport Authority's help. We will see how we're going to take forward such projects. At an appropriate time, we will see if we need more resources to conduct a systematic study. We believe this is very important because it will allow us to have a comprehensive and long-term perspective. We will make sure if we are to go on with such study to have connectivity and accessibility of the Hong Kong International in Hong Kong International Airport with Guangdong and Shenzhen, how we can integrate into the Greater Bay Area, how the people of Hong Kong can make use of airports and intercity railways to achieve a win-win for all, really. At an appropriate timing, we will report to the council, and if we need more resources, we will seek support from the LegCo. Thank you. Thank you, Chair, Mr. Yu Pat Leung. Thank you, Chair. The dedicated chapter in the National 15 Five-Year Plan on Hong Kong and Macau has moved international aviation hub to somewhere before trading and finance and other hubs. So it shows the importance attached to the status of Hong Kong as an international aviation hub. Passenger and cargo flight operations actually complement each other. I've heard the Secretary hold a very positive perspective where we're actively trying to take forward air, rail, intermodal transport. This is very important. In the short term, however, for passenger transport, is it possible for us to have a dedicated channel for mainland or GBA visitors to fly via Hong Kong? We have already expanded the exemption arrangements for airport passenger departure tax. Let me first declare I am a board member of the Airport Authority. Apart from the Airport Authority working on it, where we have other departments, mainland offices, tourism board, work together to have more exemptions. Can you stop here? Can you talk about which question you're following up on? I'm following on my question 151 and 150. And we always want to develop new sources for passenger and cargo transport. And when I looked at the data in 2019 and 2026, both at the end of January, for Russia in 2019, we have 45 cargo flights. For passenger flights, we have 15. In 2025, we had 3. And in 2019, as I said, we had 45. For Kazakhstan, in 2019, we had 23 cargo flights. We have now 12 cargo flights. In passenger flights, in 2019, we had 3. Now we have 0. So, with these figures, and the airport authorities plan to expand the aviation network, will the Bureau have more measures to develop the Central Asian market? Thank you, Secretary. Thank you, Mr. Yu, for your questions about how we can develop more passenger sources to have them make use of our airport. We are trying to expand the aviation network of the city. We are also attaching great importance to provide convenience to GBA visitors to the international airport. We already set up terminals at different mainland cities. Before the pandemic, we had 19. Now it has greatly increased to 38. We have also those going through the Sky Pier terminal, as well as making use of the Fly via Zhuhai Hong Kong services. We have served over 100,000 people. We are working with the Airport Authority and Immigration Department. For the Airport Authority, they will provide limousine services to visitors so as to transport them from their homes in the GBA mainland cities. And we will have special clearance arrangements so that they can directly get to the international airport. This is a specific product we are promoting. And you mentioned specific locations comparing the situation before and after, before the pandemic and right now. We have seen more rapid growth in Europe and the Americas because they are important destinations for us. But of course, as an international aviation hub, we have, for the markets we have yet to develop in Central Asia, we will work with airlines to explore cooperation models with them so that when we develop Belt and Road and Central Asian and Central African markets, we can have flights available as the second terminal is about to be commissioned. We want to have the low-cost budget airlines provide different destinations to provide diversified options for passengers. Mr. Aaron Buck. Thank you, Chair. I would like to first declare I am a non-executive director for 2 companies. I'm also a director for a one-man consulting company. I want to follow on 014 and 016. Both are my questions. I want to ask about 014 first. For Route 11, we will take a phased implementation approach. We will construct Qinglong Bridge first. I think this is the right approach to take. But then we should make sure the tunnel section is not ignored as well. This is very important. It ensures north-south connectivity. Route 11 would resolve the connection issue between the harbor metropolis and northern metropolis. Otherwise, we would just have serious congestion on Thailand Tunnel and Tuen Mun Road. So we really need to commence the works for the tunnel section for Route 11. Is it possible to commence such works in the financial year of 2027-28? Would you also consider using the public-private partnership model to construct the tunnel section, because we can charge tolls for that? Next, on Lion Rock Tunnel, with the improvement works, I find it regrettable that there is no timeline at all. It is said that the Bureau will have reference to priorities and undertake the project at appropriate timing. Now, the Lion Rock Tunnel was constructed over 50 years ago. At present, it might still be okay, but then a few years later, even with routine maintenance during night time, it may not be enough. So please, as soon as possible, commence the reconstruction of Lion Rock Tunnel. It is an important connection between Sharton and Kowloon. If there's something wrong, it can cause a serious problem. On 016, on planned maintenance, we have reconstruction of roads. I am happy to hear that we have seen some roads that are in relatively poor condition. Can the Bureau pledge this? We are preparing for a 5-year plan. I have been calling for aged infrastructure to be rehabilitated and rebuilt. We should include this initiative in the 5-year plan. Thank you. Secretary, thank you, Mr. Aaron Bach, for your comments. I note your comments on Route 11 in particular. We will consider your suggestions. We need to have regard to our priorities, but of course, supporting development of the Northern Metropolis and making sure there's connection with the Harbour Metropolis is very important. We need to have a comprehensive consideration of various factors regarding Northern Metropolis as well as the vicinity Tuen Mun Yuen Long. On top of large-scale infrastructure, when we have the resources at an appropriate time, we will conduct improvement works of some roads in the districts We have actually in Tuen Mun that you may not be aware of. We have been doing some works on a major road. We have also implemented some diversion and minor works. This can also help with connections. This is something we'll consider as well. The other point mentioned by Mr. Bach is about age infrastructure, that we should have some sort of 5-year plan. We will do it internally. Whether we should include it in the city's 5-year plan, I guess we have to see the degree of or level of it. We attach great importance to safety. We will conduct tunnel works when it is safe to do so, and we will make sure it is safe to use. We will also consider making use of innovative measures such as those to improve the infrastructure or enhance capacity. Thank you.
Mr. Lam Wai Kong. Thank you, Chairman. My question is on TLB 231, 234, and 230. 231 is on the requirements of body check for professional drivers. Now, the government said that over the past 3 years, there is a body check scheme for 9,000 drivers. So on average, there is only 3,000 drivers receiving checkups each year. But we have hundreds of thousands of professional drivers. So will the government consider a general check for all drivers? Now, 234 is about parking spaces for commercial vehicles. There is a serious shortage of parking spaces for CVs. In the long run, the government will provide 6,000 more goods vehicles parking spaces. But we don't know where they will be. It's because the government still hasn't completed a long-term plan yet. So how does the government know there will be spaces available for 6,000 parking spaces? When will we know the timetable of the 6,000 parking spaces? Now, 230 is about driving examination. Now, after the epidemic, the waiting time for examination for driver's license has been reduced to 5 months. Now, the government is going to review the number of driving examiners license to be issued. There will be fewer licenses issued. Now, there are more and more students, but there are fewer and fewer driving instructors. Will that further exacerbate the waiting time? Now, for Hong Kong Island, the course for driving examination is only in Happy Valley. So will the government consider providing or designating another examination course for the Hong Kong Island, because Happy Valley is getting more and more busy by the day? Secretary. Thank you, Mr. Lam, for your questions. There are several, and I will address them in a focused manner. Now, I thank the member for bringing up this body checkup plan. Every year, the Transport Department would offer body checkup coupons or vouchers for drivers. So, if resources allow, we will provide more vouchers for CV drivers. But sometimes there are vouchers with no one applying for them. And second, in the long run, there will be 6,000 more parking spaces for goods vehicles. So these parking spaces will be provided through our measures as well as new development projects. So the number is scattered among different schemes as well as places. We need to reserve the flexibility for deploying these spaces. So at this stage, we can not provide the exact details of the location of these parking spaces, but when we have more details, we will supplement the information to the member. Concerning the number of driving instructors, as well as the number of driving examination centers on the Hong Kong Island. I will task the new director for transport to discuss the matter with Mr. Lam after the meeting. They will report to the panel on transport in the due course. Mr. Hong Kam-in. Thank you, Secretary, and thank you, Directors. I have two questions to follow up on. First, TLB 50 and 099 from Mr. Chulap Wai's question. Now, cruise economy. I think it's a good idea to promote cruise economy in Kwun Tong because it is near the Kai Tak Cruise Terminal, and also there are several piers. For example, the Kwun Tong Chai Bay and also the Kwun Tong Public Pier. We can make good use of them. Now, in recent time, the industry has been under pressure because of surging fuel price. However, the green incentive scheme for green maritime fuel is only available for vessels with a gross tonnage of 50 tons or above, of 5,000 tons or above. So, can the government relax the scheme to allow other vessels to apply for the scheme as well? I think there's room to provide more charging posts for electric vehicles or electric vessels in Kwun Tong. The second question is on 172, Mr. Ben Chan's question. Now, there are 236 franchised minibus applying for a price increase. Now, these applications were made last year, even before the impact on fuel cost because of the war in the Middle East. Now, for diesel-fueled minibus, they have been phased out a few years ago, so you need to change to Euro 6 diesel or switch to electric. However, there's insufficient charging posts for electric minibus. The pace of increase is extremely slow, so would the government consider adding more charging posts and introduce green fuel for minibus? Secretary. Thank you, Mr. Hong. Dr. Hong, we will migrate to alternative energy to deal with the uncertainty in global oil supply. And also under the 15th Five-Year Plan, the country is advocating green transport and commuting. The TLB and the EEB will work together to assist public transport operators to migrate to electric or other green fuel. Under the Transport Strategy Blueprint, the government has proposed to modify public transport interchanges and public transport hubs. In the future, there will be charging facilities to facilitate the migration to electric public minibuses and taxis. There will be parking spaces in the public transport interchange with charging posts available. Now we have the Green Maritime Fuel Incentive Scheme to attract sea-going vessels to come to Hong Kong for green fuel bunkering or conduct unloading operations in Hong Kong. That's our policy intent. At the same time, we are promoting the switch to green fuel for our luxurious boats and other commercial vessels. We keep an open mind, and we will explore with the trade on facilitation measures to help their migration to green. Dr. Alan Chen, thank you. I'd like to follow up on Mr. Chow Siu Chung and Mr. Lam Wei Chun's questions on the lack of parking spaces for commercial vehicles. First of all, my question, I've submitted 12 questions and all of the questions have been sufficiently answered. So in terms of low altitude economy and driverless vehicles, These have been bravely embraced in the transport strategy blueprint, so that Hong Kong will not lag behind too much. So I applaud the Secretary's effort. Second, the serious shortage of commercial vehicle parking space is so serious that there are some 160,000 time bombs traveling on the road. Why? Because we have 160,000 commercial vehicles, but there are only 800 dedicated parking spaces for CVs, just less than 1% among the 850,000 parking spaces available. All the other parking spaces are mobile parking spaces. But there is a serious mismatch. In the past, most of the parking spaces for commercial vehicles were in Kai Tak, because this is at a central location in Hong Kong. After the redevelopment of Kai Tak, the parking spaces have been moved to remote areas in new territories. Now, the government said there will be 6,000 more parking spaces for CVs in the northern metropolis. But how would urban CV drivers park their vehicles in the northern metropolis? Now, some employers have rented a parking space in Ching Yi and other areas. However, to get more shut-eye, many CV drivers choose to illegally park their vehicles near their homes. Now, the working shift is 12 hours long already. If you ask them to park their vehicles in the northern metropolis, it would become 16 hours. So how can we address this problem? Secretary, thank you, Dr. Alan Chan. You have been very hardworking. You have submitted a dozen of questions, and some of them are related to the issue of shortage of parking spaces for CVs. Now, besides conducting the comprehensive review on the number of parking spaces for CVs, there are 3 other measures. First of all, we will focus on providing more parking spaces in public housing estates. You are correct in that there is a mismatch. Now, when short-term tenancy ends, we need to relocate the parking spaces. That affects our planning. So we will be actively cooperating with the housing authority to identify parking spaces under the single-site multiple-use principle to help provide parking spaces to CV drivers near their homes. On daytime, they can be used for loading or unloading and other uses, and at nighttime, they can be converted to parking spaces for CVs. And for parking spaces in schools, we would like to take forward the idea further. Several years ago, together with the Education Bureau and school sponsoring bodies, we have been throwing out this idea. So I hope members would help us as well. School buses and school minibuses can be parked in school campuses. The third measure is adding nighttime parking spaces on roadside. There will be some limitations, but on the roadside, we can designate parking spaces for commercial vehicles at night time. But that relies on the help from district council members because the local residents will be affected. So through these measures, we hope we can alleviate the pressure on CV drivers. Mr. Mark Chong, thank you. I would like to follow up on my own question. TLB 92 and 204 is about the southern extension of the Hongshui to Qianhai section of the Hong Kong-Shenzhen rail link. I'm pleased to hear that this year there will be an internal discussion on how to extend the rail southward to Sunny Bay and the airport. So Mr. Bray Chen has asked this question already. The other follow-up question is on TLB 205 concerning the charge for the Tai Lam Tunnel. Now so for the Taste Count Tunnel, even taking into the accounts the depreciation, there is a revenue of $300 million. So it is a build and transfer model, and taking away depreciation, the government has made a profit of $500 million. There's much room for lowering the fare. Now, has that affected the traffic volume after the price increase? I don't think so, because it's still very healthy. For peak hours is 0.9 and the usage rate for non-peak hours is 0.5. There's no need to call for diversion of traffic, so there's much room for lowering the fare. Now, for peak hours, there are varying tolls for different time periods. So unlike the free harbour crossing tunnel, the Taste Con tunnel is different. The free harbour crossing are always congested, but in the morning, Taste Con tunnel would be congested for the urban bound lane and the other way around at the afternoon peak hour. I'm also a user of the Taste Con tunnel, but I'm traveling to the opposite direction. So with this kind of congestion, many residents in Yuen Long still wonder why they are charged such a high fare. Now, about the public fare adjustment scheme, question 090, the adjustable price mechanism with the MTRC, the fare would always go up instead of go down. We have never seen a reduction in fare, but I hope that when the economy is doing good, the fare should go down. I think this mechanism should be improved and used in other public transport as well, including public bus. Now, in 2019, City Bus asked for a 7% price increase, but actually it hasn't asked for a price increase for 11 years. At the same time, the CPI inflation rate was 37%. So I hope the government can use the MPRC mechanism on public bus as well.
Hi.
Secretary, please give a brief response. Time is tight. Sure. There were mainly two questions on Tai Lam Tunnel, the three crossings. We have time-varying tolls. We also have tolls based on the different vehicle types. The government pledged we would review the flow of vehicles at an appropriate time. We will report to the panel on transport on the data and analyses. We will have detailed discussions then, I believe. On fare adjustment, with MTR's fare adjustment mechanism, there is a specific system. We do understand there are concerns in society and various opinions. If we are to apply MTRC's mechanism on, say, bus companies, whether we can achieve the same effect, we need to be really prudent when we consider whether to apply such. But the fare adjustment mechanism is a mechanism that has worked well over the years. We will also work with bus companies as a gatekeeper to make sure transport is affordable to citizens so that we can also have financial viable services for the bus companies. Mr. Eric Yim, I want to follow up on my own question on 057. Under the action plan for maritime and port development, we talked about how for ocean-going vessels and river trade vessels, we need to review the port facilities and the dues. What are the preliminary findings of the study? According to the government's data, last year we had 42,000 river trade vessels calling at the Hong Kong port. There is a year-on-year decrease of 4%. And the fees that river trade vessels have to pay for for permits per vessel is $1,000. So last year, the government should have received approximately $40 million. Is there room for decrease in permit fees to have more cargo undergo transshipment in Hong Kong from the Pearl River Delta? I believe the indirect benefits generated from this will far exceed $40 million. Secretary, thank you, Chair. I will give a brief response and then I will ask my colleague, Ms. Chen, to supplement information. We have heard on different occasions what Mr. Eric Yim said. We are looking at how we can enhance our status as a transshipment hub, especially for CC transshipment. We do want to develop more cargo sources from the mainland. I now would want to ask Ms. Amy Chan to talk about the current situation and the way forward. Ms. Amy Chan. Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Member. We will conduct a comprehensive review on port dues and government charges. The trade has indeed made calls for some waivers of permit fees or some concessions. But because the circumstances are quite complex, we are still making calculations. We do want to develop more cargo sources. We are taking a multi-pronged approach to develop not just the closer markets, but also the markets further away so that it will support Hong Kong's status as an international logistics and international maritime hub, generating greater business so that the charges won't be too much for companies. Mr. Chang Pui Kong, thank you, Chair. I want to ask about 058. It says that the government is looking at constructing a cross-sea bridge to cross the Kwun Tong typhoon shelter. I welcome the relevant study to see if this is feasible. We also have a good way of connecting the Kai Tak runway and Kwun Tong. We originally had the monorail project. Now we have the Smart and Green Mass Transit System project. I hope with the Kai Tak line it can be extended to Kwun Tong. If you can study the feasibility of this option, if it can happen for Kai Tak residents and visitors to easily get to Kwun Tong, it can revitalize the Kwun Tong Harbourfront area. I hope you can also study the possibility of expanding Kwun Tong Station. We do not have concrete reconstruction proposals for Yunmen Square just yet. If you can please explore the expansion of Kwun Tong Station with your consideration of redevelopment of the relevant area. Thank you. Secretary, thank you, Mr. Chung, for your questions. For the Smart and Green Mass Transit System in Kai Tak, in conducting tendering, we already said we wanted potential operators when they submit relevant proposals consider reserving space for extension to Yaotong in our scoring. We will allocate points to the specific idea. So we attach great importance to this. As for Kwun Tong Station, we have to consider that there is limited space. Kwun Tong Station is actually an elevated MTR station. It is also a very busy station. From what I remember, at Yunmen Square, especially on Choi Ping Road, we are constructing the Civil Service College there. There will be a podium that can connect to the footbridge network in the vicinity of Klun Tong Station. We do want to leave more space for the flow of people, but we will conduct improvement works if we can. Mr. Vincent Cheng, thank you, Chair. I want to ask about 047 and 048 about the public cargo zone as well as typhoon shelter. We had fires several times before. It has caused a serious impact because every time there was a fire, there can be a really bad odor in the whole of Hong Kong Island and Kowloon. So we really need to enhance awareness of prevention of fires. I understand the Bureau has commenced a study in Q3 of 2025 on typhoon shelter area and usage. We have much community use in the harbor front, and we have, say, for the Yau Ma Tei typhoon shelter in To Kwa Wan, we have a lot of vessels there. With Rugby Sevens, we have people looking out to the sea, but all they see are these vessels. It can really hurt us in giving off a good impression. We are also trying to develop yacht economy. Is there more room for us to develop this space and typhoon shelter facilities? We already have 100% usage in Yau Ma Tei typhoon shelter, actually. Thank you. Secretary, thank you, Mr. Ching, for your questions. For the public cargo loading zones, we indeed have a great demand. We have great marine resources. We have a beautiful harbor front. With the actual operations of public cargo working areas, we will explore with members and the trades to see if we can enhance the layout. But we may not be achieve the end goal right away. We have also the Marine Department looking at the use of green fuels as well as anchorages and berth spaces for yachts. They're going to have a comprehensive review on that, as well as on berths in typhoon shelters, to make sure we can strike a balance between economic development and actual operations, as well as providing a great experience of visitors to the harbor front. Thank you. It's now my turn to speak. I want to ask about 068 and 069. For 069, it is about the Kongfuk Bridge in Tai Po. This may be a topic limited to the district, but this can really help with the smooth traffic in Old Market of Tai Po, and previous communications have forged a concession that we should have this project undertaken as soon as possible. And the reply said they would have regard to cost effectiveness and priorities and undertake this project. I hope the Bureau can respect the views of councils and include it in the schedule of public works to be undertaken. I now want to ask about 068. It is on Pak Shek Kok Station. I understand the Secretary said we're at the final stage of preparation, but when you discuss with the MTRC, we want to make sure the station takes the construction of which takes a fitness and no frills approach. One reason for that is to save money. We often talk about with MTRC they would construct properties. I don't think we need that because it can really cause a greater traffic in the area. It may not be popular with residents. If you adopt a fitness and no-frills approach, for example, making use of modular integrated construction, it can really expedite the timeline. It can meet the demand of residents. This is for your suggestion. This is for consideration. Thank you. We will consider the suggestion about Kwong Fok Bridge. We believe it may not be that simple, but we hope to provide some sort of accommodation. On Pak Shek Kok Station, we understand the MTRC will adopt a fitness with no frills approach to save costs in construction. With the new railway standards promulgated, we have been encouraging them to make use of the MIC technology and components coming from the mainland. When we talked to the MTRC about this, we want to make sure this part is updated to expedite the undertaking of the project. Thank you. We had 22 members speaking in this session. Due to time constraints, we have several members who cannot ask questions. If they want, they may raise the questions with the Secretariat and written replies can be provided. This is the end of the session. The next session will start at 10:55. Thank you.